Hi everyone, thanks for staying tuned again on some issues that affect the great state of Delaware and our nation. Once again, healthcare is in the issues headlines again, and will be for months to come based on whatever Washington and you decide to do about healthcare here in America. There's one part of healthcare that's been largely overlooked, and unfortunately the President pretty much passed on it about 2 weeks ago when he talked to the AMA, and that had to do with malpractice reform. He essentially said that, he did not support the AMA's objectives of reducing malpractice costs. He's supporting trial lawyers, and that's okay, he can do that, but that's not good for medicine. What we have to understand is, I think it's very important to understand, reducing errors is just as important as having coverage. Because if you have poor medical care, which results in errors and death or injury, what good is your coverage? So let's talk about those injuries. Our present system does a very, very bad job of trying to assign blame, and well, it's just convoluted, it takes very, very long. It's good on trying to blame people, but it's very, very poor on achieving health improvement, which should be the goal of all medicine. So let's talk about what we can do. We need to do something about the fact that it takes 50% of all the costs for malpractice in the court system goes to overhead, not to the victims. And that's hard to believe, but 50% goes. Less than 2% of the people who are injured file a claim. That's hard to believe. 1 in 50 file a claim. The cases, folks, unbelievably take 3 to 5 years. That is a long time to live with ongoing court requirements, lawyers, facing your doctor, who you might have had a lot of respect for in weeks and months before. Now he's your adversary, or she's your adversary. And the bottom line is, the cost of the defensive medicine that malpractice brings about costs more than the errors. So because we haven't dealt with it up front in the system, the cost is more on the back end. And that, you and I pay for that. It's just that simple. Now there's a much more aggressive way to do this. It's much more common sense. And what we need is an alternative method for quicker and more reliable justice. The present system, let's be honest, it costs too much, takes too long. It's a very lottery luck mentality, and not everybody's being served very well. So what are we proposing? Something that's been looked at in other venues is something called a healthcare court. Now, what that does, it differentiates between unavoidable injury and true malpractice. Those are key things. And we also want to, within this healthcare court system, institute a no jeopardy system of reporting errors. Now, some of you may think that's a stretch. In the aviation community I deal with, we have something like that. And it's designed, if there's a small error somewhere in aviation operations, you deal with it there in a no jeopardy situation before it results in a major crash that might affect hundreds of people. Medicine needs to have the same thing. Doctors are not our enemies. They should be our partners in healthcare, which is another reason why we talk about the public option being so dangerous, because it brings Washington in between you and your doctor. So what are these healthcare courts? What are they all about? Now, for those of you saying, oh geez, that's one more layer of bureaucracy, no. And essentially what would happen is malpractice would no longer be involved in the civil courts. No more. What you would have is a medical review process, an administrative court if you want to call it that. And there's all kinds of examples for doing that. Some of those are in taxes, some of those are in personal injury. There are ways to do this that have been done before and it'll work. So essentially what you would have is a special administrative court to review your medical record, one, to see if error was truly a cause. If it was, there was a schedule of benefits that have been worked out to provide you instant relief for your medical error case. So you're not taking 3 to 5 years, you're not taking endless affidavits. It really comes down to your case being reviewed by skilled professionals, nonpartisan, not part of the money-making process, which is what we have, and they're producing a judgment for you much quicker. So instead of having 1 in 50 people making claims and getting some sort of justice, almost everybody can, and that's important. Now, if the medical review process, the initial part of the administrative court, doesn't work and there's true medical error that goes above and beyond that schedule of benefits, then we leap into something that's very, very important. And it's modeled somewhat after our Chancery Court here in Delaware, which Delaware is world renowned for. and for good reason. It's a very competent professional court. The healthcare court would have specially trained judges who know about medical procedures, hospital protocols, care, those sort of things that most of us deal with a legal mind also, and that's critical. So what would happen, you would go to this healthcare court, juries would be there to decide facts and not standards. Key difference. Once you establish the facts of what happened, you don't get into this endless dispute between experts. In fact, a key part of this is the court would hire from a pool of approved and experienced witnesses, professional witnesses, rather than the plaintiffs and defendants having these dueling experts, which you and I both know, one side hires what they want to hear and so does the other side. These would be impartial sworn people with medical credentials to talk about a case, the established protocols of care, what should have happened, with a very unbiased review of your case, what the doctor's conduct was, or the hospital, or whoever it could have been. So again, you have what we don't have right now is constant, reliable, steady judgment on medical review that we don't have right now. Much faster. In the end, the goal is to save money, save time, and save lives. Let's get away from the lottery mentality we have now for malpractice, remove some of that adversarial role, take away that veneer of defensive medicine we have right now, which is adding to our costs and stressing our healthcare system when we don't get anything for it. And introduce something that was a proven product. These healthcare courts, based on other specialty cases, again, like our Chancery Court, it's a win-win. Doctors are interested in this with that no jeopardy reporting system, so they can self-analyze and self-report errors before they hurt somebody. Again, it's thinking outside the box, but what's inside the box right now is not working. So again, let's take a look at healthcare courts, and I wish the Washington folks, including the president, would take on malpractice reform, because it is a key element. It won't solve our healthcare problems, but it's a key element for your rights as a human being, as a patient, to be served by a medical professional in the right way. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll be talking about more issues in the next few weeks. Thanks.